On board Peter McGuire, CEO at XM Australia, and chat about what he's making of the commodity markets. Peter, hi, morning. Before anything else, heard there was a big earthquake in Australia. Hope all things okay with you.
Well, good morning. Yes, so I felt it. I'm in Sydney. I'm on the coast, about probably 6 or 7 k's from the centre of the city, and I certainly felt it. I didn't know what it was, and I think it more or less startled me. But yeah, it certainly felt like a quake. I don't live through too many. It's not like I'm in Tokyo, so yeah, a little bit of a rare event for someone in Sydney.
Okay. Hope things stay safe. That's the last thing we need right now. But Peter, what's happening in the commodity markets and especially metals? Because they too have been jilted off late a little bit. We were just chatting with an expert and talking about iron ore itself, and it's almost 48 to 50 odd percent off from its 52-week highs.
Yeah, it's had a massive washout, and many analysts are expecting it to actually head, further south from here. So that really puts a lot of pressure, I think, and takes most of the downdraft across many of those other metals. Uh, is it unusual? Well, I think the Evergrande situation is probably a little bit of a wake-up call. The other side is from domestic miners like Australia. It's certainly not going to do our economy a whole heap of good. I think it's going to be a fairly bleak 22, considering of how much we export and how much revenue we take on board from something like iron ore. So yes, I think it's a two-prong approach. But yes, prices are certainly well down from their highs that we experienced earlier in the year or in May. And it could be a very, very soft market by Christmas.
Hi, Peter, this is Alex joining in as well. I just want to get a sense from you, and if we can broaden the scope to also talk about base metals, how big of a concern is this Evergrande situation? I know you mentioned it in passing right now, but do we anticipate that there will be a significant dent in demand for metals? Is this why we're seeing the kind of reaction that we are seeing right now? And does it get worse?
I don't know if it gets worse. I think the issue, Alex, is quite simple. Are there other firms out there like Evergrande that are going to more or less pull their skirt up and have a look and see how much debt they've got on board? And of course, the other side of things, the way to deal themselves out of the particular debt issues. And that's an unknown, and that's going to materialise over the next couple of months. So there's the first part. The second part is the structural weakness, and we all understand what that can do to the domestic economy because they build 600,000 homes a year. As we know, a great percentage of those are bought off the plan. And then the issue is tomorrow that debt servicing and what they're supposedly going to pay back, or are they going to not be able to service that debt? So there's the issue. The uncertainty surrounding that naturally is to all of the supply chains that are embedded into that business model. We understand they also are involved in electric vehicles and theme parks. So it's a large, a major conglomerate. And like any conglomerate, if you're not being able to service your debt, then that really creates major issues for the survival of the business.
My last question, and of course this is really hard to predict, but in the event that we see jitters across the board in the capital markets, do you see that that gold will find a lot of takers, that you see the prices of gold rise from where they are right now? What is your expectation on gold prices?
I would think so, Alex, and I think we've had a nice run up as far as that US dollar index sitting at around about 93.25. And I think that gold's taken a little bit of, has lost a bit of its gleam over the last week and a half or so. But I think structurally, it's, with high inflation, and certainly the inflation story is one major concern to all central bankers, then the concern leading into 22 is going to be how much further can gold ramp up, and I think that its best days are ahead of it. So certainly not behind it. So let's just see what happens in the short run. But as more turmoil possibly does enter the market, I wouldn't be surprised to see a push up for gold. It's too hard to forecast what sort of price range, but I think overall over the next couple of years, I think gold's going to trend higher.
Peter, thanks so much for joining in, and hope you stay safe in Australia.
Thank you, Alex.